And great having you all here on a Friday. Again, my name is Alana Jones. I am your child nutrition specialist, CEO Off My Plate Food Program Consultants. And today we are here to talk about one of my favorite topics. I mean, this is just one of my favorite topics because this is a tool that I learned some years ago, and it really helped me jump in leadership. It actually helped me take a quantum leap in leadership and leadership style. So today we're going to delve even deeper into one of our pillars. You know, we have the 5 pillars of child nutrition program success, and those are people, process, participation, procurement, and production. And so today we're going to talk about people. So let's get into it. My first question is, what if I told you one of the biggest reasons your child nutrition program organization or the food organization that you operate struggles has nothing to do, it has nothing to do with the funding, it has nothing to do with menus, and nothing to do with compliance? What if I told you that? That all this struggle bus has nothing to do with funding, menus, or compliance, but everything to do with who is on your team. Yes, let that sink in a little bit. It's about who is on your team. See, the truth is people are the lifeblood of our organizations, but managing people is a whole nother story. Managing people is it's its own beast, right? They got trainings just on how to manage people because people can be a little complicated. So we've all had situations where someone just wasn't the right fit. Go ahead and set up an emoji if you know that. Someone isn't the right fit. They're not the right fit for your team. You've even had volunteering experiences where you're volunteering side by side with someone and you're like, they should not be here. They should not be here. They don't know what they're doing, or they're just really doing it halfway. And who wants to be with team members who don't strive for excellence, right? So today we're going to be talking about how to know when someone is in the wrong seat and what to do about it. So if you've ever had to deal with a difficult person, just leave me an emoji or type difficult here in the chat. I'd love to know if this is something that you're struggling with right now. So does this sound familiar? You hire someone with good intentions, but they're just not delivering. My former director of my daycare, who's now the owner of my daycare, she used to say it this way. She would say things like, the representative showed up to the job interview. So you have someone show up to the job interview. They have the background. You think they have a skill set, and you might even check references, but you hire them with good intentions, but it gets to the job and it just is not working out. They're not delivering. Then you're constantly putting out fires, right? You're constantly putting out fires because your team isn't functioning the way that it should. It's just like a chain link. When you have a break in the chain can't operate the way that it needs to. And so sometimes you're always, responsible for cleaning up the mess of someone else. And in this case, we're talking about someone else who works for you. Okay. And then, training is important. But due to the fact that you're putting out all these fires, you just don't have the time. You don't have the time, but yet you're tired of fixing the same mistakes. So you're hesitant to make the tough decisions. And I get that. I understand that because you just don't want to start over. So if any of this sounds like you, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know that, I can totally identify with this. But here is actually the hard truth about all of this. A team member who's in the wrong seat is actually costing you more than they're helping. They're costing you time, energy, and resources, y'all. So today we're going to talk about the right person being in the right seat and how we can identify that person and also make those tough decisions, okay? So Jim Collins is the author of the best-selling book, Good to Great. And that is where this idea of the right person in the right seat actually originates. this is an idea that's not unfamiliar to us. You know, it's something that you probably heard of before. It's just something logical, right? You want the best person for the job. And it's been around for a long time. And I believe it's something that many of us strive for. But the problem is many of us don't actually know the how behind it. We don't know how to implement it. And so that's not always clear. You know, when we talk about, okay, how are we going to fire someone, especially those of you who are in school systems, you know, that could be a little complicated. So we'll talk through that a little bit, and we certainly understand how complicated that could be. But in many cases, that is what has to happen. We have to have the right people in the right seat. And sometimes that means terminating some of these people who are in the wrong seat. But let's talk about this first. Let's define what do we mean when we say the right people? So the only way that the conversation about the right people can continue is by first, you as an organization or you as an organizational leader, you have to define who you are. Okay. So many of us who are on this call, we are child care directors who operate food programs, or we're K-12 schools who operate food programs, or we're community organizations. Okay. So we can say, okay, we're a food program, but no, who are you? Who is your organization? There is a pathway to that. And it usually starts with having a vision. And then within that vision, defining your core values. And that's when we're talking about right people. We're talking about people who reflect your core values. When I was a owner of the center, we had what was called the We Care Way, right? The We Care Way. And that was the name of our organization, We Care. So with the We Care Way, we had certain values. Like we said, we were going to always show up to work with a cheerful attitude. We believed in compliance. We believed in integrity. These were all the core values. We believed in, when it came to our food program, we believed in serving healthy food. These are core values. And so when we're talking about making sure we have the right person, does that person actually reflect and practice the core values of the organization? That is one of the defining parts of this people pillar. Is this the right fit? Because some people just are not the right people. You know, there are some people who are truly just coming to work just for a check. And in some realms that might work. But in the realm that we operate in, being child nutrition people, that just don't work. Okay. You got to kind of love what you're doing. All right. You got to have a passion for what you're doing. You may not have a passion for each and every task, but you have a passion for that end goal. So that's the first part of defining who the right people are. The right people are the ones who make your organization the best place to be. Like if you're in a school system, you want your school to be the best school, you know, rocking out that food, you know, rocking out that kid-friendly food. You want to be known as the best kitchen. And I call us little mini restaurants. You want to be known as the best restaurant. And so you want people on your team who actually feel that way and accomplish tasks with that goal in mind. So that's number one, the right people. These are people who see your vision clearly and really believe in the core values of your organization. Then we have to define what is the right seat. So the right seat means that each of your employees operate within his or her greatest strength. Okay. They are operating within their greatest skill set. Now, I've operated in kitchens before, you know, pretty much my whole career, and I understand cross training. Yes, everybody needs to know what the other person does in the organization, and I have no problem with us rotating. But even in that, we want to make sure that we have the best people rotating into the correct positions. Y'all, I've had people on my team where I just had to finally come to the conclusion that they should not be on a cashier stand. They should not be on a cashier stand. And one of the reasons was they never smiled. Now, they were great employees. You know, you give them an operation where, you know, they had to go in and make multiple meals at the same time for large groups. They were great at that. But they were just not good with the kids. And so I had to come to that reality, and I wanted everybody cross-trained, and I wanted everyone to know how to operate that POS system. But ultimately, for the best of the organization, that person was in the wrong seat when I set them at the cashier stand. Now, I could put them on meats, fruits, and vegetables all day long, and they were happy there. And so as a leader, sometimes we have to make those kind of decisions. And, sometimes your team will come back and say, well, it's not fair that I got to be on the POS stand all the time. And, she could always be in the back. Well, that you have to ask, is that the right person too? Is that the right team member too? Because as a team, we should really be knowledgeable of each other's skill sets, okay, and capabilities. And with that, yes, you could train a person into a position. Yes, you can. But there is a place where you really realize that this person is most gifted in this seat. So, right person in the right seat, y'all. That is what is going to make your program successful, okay? So, sometimes we put people in seats that are too big. Sometimes they've outgrown their seats. So let's talk about how we ensure that the right person is in the right seat. So here are 3 steps, and I'm going to get out your way, okay? Step 1, define the roles clearly. This is a tool to prevent what is called misalignment. So when all of us were hired into our positions, or when we posted positions for other people to be hired, we always posted what was called a job description, right? But have you actually went through that job description with that employee? And not only the job description, but sometimes job descriptions are vague. So have you went through the expectation of the task that's on the job description? For instance, if you're hiring someone for your organization to be a cook, well, that could mean a number of different things depending what kind of organization you work for. Because if you're in a small organization, that cook not only cooks food, but they serve food, they go grocery shopping, they clean up the eating area as well. So just saying that, okay, you're hired today as a cook, you have to define what all the tasks are for that cook position. Also, as a cook, does that mean they're just a baker? Does it mean that they're operating heavy machinery? What does it mean? And I know it seems like, oh, that should be self-explanatory, but in some cases it's not. I've seen cooks who sat all day. They sat until somebody told them what to do. And oftentimes I was that somebody, because I come in there and be like, why you sitting? But really defining what the job expectations are is the number one way to make sure that you prevent misalignment. So job description should be clear with measurable expectations. And now ask yourself, if you hired again for that particular position, would you rehire that same person who sits in that position right now? So take a minute to think about it, because are they actually fulfilling the goals of that job description? And if they're not, now we have to ask ourselves, are they the right person? And are they in the right seat? So step 2, assess and train. So I'm not like a big proponent of like, okay, let's just take that example. I got a person sitting when everyone else is up working. I'm not like, go in and fire that person. I'm not saying to do that, because sometimes there are just reasons why that person is not really being a team player. So one of those reasons may be, have they been trained properly? If this is someone who might be new to the kitchen, maybe they just don't know what to do next. So they're trained as a cook, but no one ever told them, okay, at 9 o'clock, I need you to do this. At 10 o'clock, I need you to do this. At 11 o'clock, this is when we all do this. Those expectations weren't ever outlined for them. So we're just looking at them and we're asking them to just jump in. And sometimes, especially with the people who are coming into the workforce now, some of them need a little bit more explanation. Okay. They need a little bit more training, and we have to be patient enough to take the time out to do that with them, to do it for them, with them, and also be patient enough to follow up. And sometimes multiple times. Sometimes people need to be educated in different ways. You have auditory learners, you have visual learners, you have people who learn by doing. you need to have walked through every one of those types of opportunities before you just say you're going to fire somebody, right? So maybe they just need additional training. So people need structured onboarding. That's what that type of training would be. If you hired someone in, you tell them the duties of their job and tell them the expectations. That's onboarding. And then they need continuous development. So that is that ongoing training. So it'd be great when you hired in someone, or maybe not even when you've hired, but let's say you are setting expectations for current team members as well. Set those expectations over 30, 60, and 90-day increments, and really evaluate those persons in that particular seat. Okay? So that's step 2, assess and train. Step 3, sometimes you just have to make the tough call. Okay? When it's not the right fit. Okay, when it's not the right fit, sometimes you just got to move people around or move them out. And that's the hard part. But if someone is not the right fit, it's hurting them and it's hurting your program. Okay, they miserable too. They're not living up to their life's purpose. You know, sometimes they need to be released into their destiny. Okay, use the 3-strike rule. If number 1, identify the problem. What is it that they're not doing? Where are they not meeting the expectations? A person shouldn't have to wait a whole year of employment before they know what they're doing well and what they're doing not so well and need improvement in. If for school systems, sometimes you have to wait the whole school year before you could terminate an employee. Well, terminating an employee at the end of the school year, you never had a conversation with them, that's really, really unfair. Okay? It's unfair to them, and it's also unfair to you. You're not being a great leader by doing that. So you should really be setting up these intervals when you are having these conversations. And that's like a 3-step process. So you start by setting up those expectations, right? Telling them, okay, this is an area that I'm seeing challenges in. How can I help you improve here? Here are the expectations. Offer them coaching and additional training, as we talked about before. Sometimes I found it good to put them with other employees. If I got a star employee and I got a new employee or employee who's just not doing so well in a particular area, sometimes I ask a coworker to train them. Okay. And then if no improvement, then the truth is, it's just time to part ways. You do this in a way of professionalism and kindness. But as I mentioned, by the time they get to a place where you're terminating them, it should not be a surprise, right? You should have set some expectations and had some conversations. So again, there's a famous quote that says, slow to hire, quick to fire. Okay. A 3-step process sounds like a long time, but it's not. It really isn't when you've put expectations in place for that employee. So imagine having a team that just gets it, where everyone is in the right seats doing what they do best. How great would that be for your organization? So that's what we have today. And that's what I hope we're all striving for. That organization where everyone's in the right seat and it's the right people. Now, if you want to get into more details about this, then I am encouraging you to learn more about the CMP, CEO Leadership Academy. That's where we really get into the nuts and bolts of how to make this happen in your organization in an efficient way and also in a way that you feel empowered. That's where we're going to talk about setting a vision and making those core values for your organizations and ways to train your team to that vision. So I hope y'all have a great Friday. Thank you. I've enjoyed my time. You can always reach me here on the Facebook or on YouTube. And contact me anytime if you have any questions. This group is for CMP leaders and those who work in CMP, and I'm here to help get those questions answered for you. Y'all have a great day.